From the unexplained to the mundane, come join us on a journey to the fringe. Hello and welcome to Journey to the Fringe. Not where I expected us to be learning Spanish pronunciations, yet here we are. Not in this episode, I assume, but I don't know for sure. If you want to know what we're talking about, you got to go listen to that slightly longer than average fringy mini we just let out. We are your podcast hosts, Taylor and Chelsea, here today for a Chelsea episode.
It's true, and it's not going to be in Spanish.
Not even Spanish adjacent, which is probably English, actually, now that I think about it.
Looking back through our catalog recently, well, my specific episodes, Taylor's have been heavy on the Bigfoots. Mine have been heavy on the abduction stuff. So I thought I would change it up. I don't know if Taylor's going to feel the same way next week. But I'm going to do a person. And I thought, hopefully, I could focus on a good guy this episode. And I think I found one. I think we're going to get... I think I did.
Why are you going to say it up front? I wanted to be held in suspense if this guy was an asshole or not.
Yeah, as with all my research, we might get to the end and decide differently. I don't know.
Okay.
As I like to leave a little mystery for myself sometimes as well. You all know that. You've been here long enough now. So anyhow, Charles Hoy Fort was born in Albany, New York in 1874. Does the name ring a bell?
This is the Fortean guy, isn't it?
It is. The Fortean guy.
No way. Okay.
You know, it's hard to find a good guy these days. We'll see if he's still a good guy at the end.
Yeah, well, and let's take into account, too, he was born in the 1800s, so we're already talking about a very different kind of good guy.
Yeah, it's true.
They were held to a much lower standard.
They were held to a much, much lower standard. Incredibly.
Don't ask his opinion on many things.
His early life was largely defined by his relationship with his authoritarian, physically abusive father. Biographers suggest this harsh upbringing sparked his lifelong, deep-seated distrust of authority, especially the authority of mainstream science.
Did mainstream science beat him too?
Sounds like it might have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It was boxed in there with that, wasn't it?
Oh, I knew.
As a young man, he wanted to be a naturalist and collected specimens like shells and minerals. He dropped out of high school, worked as a journalist, and traveled extensively.
I'm sure you didn't look into this, but maybe you can tell me off the top of your head, what exactly is a naturalist? Just somebody who lives off the land?
It would have to be something to do with natural stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
But it sounded like he described being like a geologist.
He wanted to be... What is a naturalist? Don't ask AI. I'll just ask Google.
Well,
that's
depending on how you ask it, it's going to answer it immediately.
Take out your encyclopedia. Do you have it handy? An expert in or student of natural history specializing in the observation of plants, animals, and ecosystems in their natural habitats. So it is almost exactly as it sounds. Right? Okay,
so just like a general science doer in the wild.
Yes. I don't even know if you would need a degree for that.
No, yeah, that's why I'm a little confused.
I could be considered that too. I'll be on the lookout for monkeys. He eventually settled down to write, achieving some modest success writing humorous short stories about tenement life in New York, but struggling financially. In 1906, he began to collect accounts of anomalies. He was 32 years at that time. Fort didn't rise to prominence through traditional academic or literary ladders. In 1916, a modest inheritance from an uncle, followed by another from a deceased brother, gave him enough financial independence to quit his day jobs and write full-time.
Finally, everybody around me has died and given me their funds.
Time for my passions. Fort's experience as a journalist, coupled with his wit and contrarian nature, prepared him for his real-life work, ridiculing the pretensions of scientific positivism and the tendency of journalists and editors of newspapers and scientific journals to rationalize. So at this point, I'm starting to like him. I like this.
I don't like how much he's been, like, really described as anti-authoritarian. Like, you cannot tell this guy something's wrong.
No, it's gonna come up some more.
Yeah.
Freed from the need to earn a traditional living, Fort dedicated his life to the library.
See, I feel like he should have went on to be a naturalist, because it didn't seem like that makes money.
That's true, but this seems to be his real passion. Yeah. Why didn't he go on to become a naturalist? That was his true passion. We heard nothing of this being a passion.
I guess he just got addicted as he got older.
Wasn't his day job writing cartoons or something?
Anecdotes, yeah, short stories.
He worked as a journalist, so he quit his day job and just continued to work as a writer? I guess it's what he knew. Hey,
but don't tell him what to do. Don't tell him what to do.
He spent years in the New York Public Library and the British Museum, sifting through thousands of scientific journals, newspapers, and magazines to gather material on phenomena on the borderline between fact and fantasy. He was looking for what he called the damned data, reports of anomalies that mainstream science ignored or swept under the rug because they didn't fit accepted theories. Fort wrote 10 novels, although only one, The Outcast Manufacturers in 1909, A Tenement Tale, was published. Reviews were mostly positive, but it was unsuccessful commercially. During 1915, Fort began to write 2 books titled X and Y, the first dealing with the idea that beings on Mars were controlling events on Earth, and the second with the postulation of a sinister civilization extant on the South Pole.
And, sorry, Chelsea, what years are we talking about for the release of these? Like 1915? 1915, okay.
Yeah. These books caught the attention of writer Theodore Dreiser, who tried to get them published, but to no avail. Discouraged, Fort burnt the manuscripts, but soon began work on the book that would change the course of his life, The Book of the Damned, which came in 1919, which Dreiser helped to get published. The title referred to the damned data that Fort collected, phenomena for which science could not account or that was thus rejected or ignored. You see multiple times through this, he quite oftentimes destroys his work. This is because, like, he gave up here and he just burnt all his manuscripts of all the 10 books that he wrote.
And this was the early 1900s. Like, it's still not that easy to get rid of everything.
It's true. And there's a point where he's getting frustrated with his work again, and he's, like, sitting with all his notes on a park bench in New York, and he literally just lets the wind take it away. It doesn't do anything about it, and someone actually picks it up.
He's like, "Oh no, I will help you."
Back. Yeah, and he was like, "I didn't want that." He just like lets it all go. So Fort found himself the subject of a cult following after this book is published, which is the Book of the Damned. And talk arose of the formation of a formal organization to study the type of odd events related by his books. And a part of understanding this is that nobody is talking about this at the time, which is a part of how he starts to get a cult following.
To be fair, there were seances, people were talking about giants.
There are no books such as what he's writing.
Compiling it, okay.
Yeah. So this is how he kind of gets a cult following.
Cataloging it, yeah, because I could think like Aleister Crowley would have been roughly around this time, a little bit before this. But he wasn't like cataloging things. He was doing his own.
He was doing
writings.
his own thing, like his own insane thing, as he does. So Jerome Clark writes, quote, Fort himself, who did nothing to encourage any of this, found the idea hilarious. Yet he faithfully corresponded with his readers, some of whom had taken to investigating reports of anomalous phenomena and sending their findings to Fort, end quote. Historian Mitch Horowitz has compared the trajectory of Fort's literary career to Edgar Allan Poe's. Quote, through his pioneering of paranormal reportage, Fort did for weird facts or alleged ones what Edgar Allan Poe did for horror literature, created a genre where none was recognized. The two authors led strangely similar lives of near penury, uneven but notable literary praise during otherwise struggling careers, and elevation to iconic status after death, end quote.
Is he going to be killed by rabies?
Is that how Edgar
That's how
Allan...
Poe died.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful. As a side note, I just think that rabies would be the absolute worst way to go, because
awful.
I was on a Reddit doom scroll one time, and for whatever reason, the ask was, what's the worst way to die? And at 2 a.m. reading about how you die from rabies, it's stuck with me ever since, and I just am paranoid about getting rabies.
It's actually crazy,
So
like how
very
common
bad.
it is, and was even for humans to die from back in the day.
Yeah, I would have to say it does sound like the worst way to go. That sucks for Edgar Allan Poe. I'm very sad to learn that. Now you all know that I'm very terrified of fish and rabies. But love Mothman. Anyhow, now that we know more about me, Fort dies May 3rd, 1932. After seeing the advanced copies of his book Wild Talents literally that day. They bring it to him, they show it to him, the advanced copy, and he dies. And it's probably of leukemia, probably. It was never
Not the
confirmed.
book? Okay.
Yeah. It was in the works to get, and I guess it just like goes with his whole thing of he didn't like particularly like any of what was going on with his career, like his notability or anything. We'll talk a little bit more about it. So just a little bit funny that he like sees it and he dies. Not funny, but you know. After Fort's death, the writer Colin Wilson said that he suspected that Fort took few, if any, of his explanations seriously, and noted that Fort made, quote, no attempt to present a coherent argument, end quote. He described Fort as a patron saint of cranks. Wilson called Fort's writing style atrocious and almost unreadable, yet despite his objections to Fort's prose, he allowed that the facts are certainly astonishing enough. In the end, Fort's work gave him the feeling that no matter how honest scientists think they are still influenced by various unconscious assumptions that prevent them from attaining true objectivity. Expressed in a sentence, Fort's principle goes something like this. People with psychological need to believe in marvels are no more prejudiced and gullible than people with a psychological need not to believe in marvels. So that's like the life of Charles Fort. I just want to talk about his important contributions. Fort published 4 major nonfiction books that cemented his legacy. I talked about 1 or 2 of them, but I want to tell you more about the books that he was writing that kind of cemented him as he is. The first is the Book of the Damned that came out in 1919, which is his landmark work. The title refers to the data that dogmatic science has damned to exclusion. So it's concerning various types of anomalous phenomena, included UFOs, strange falls of both organic and inorganic material from the sky, odd weather patterns, the possible existence of creatures generally believed to be mythological, disappearances of people, and many other phenomena. The book is considered to be the first of the specific topic of anomalistics.
Anomalistic, yeah.
Anomalistics. The second one, New Lands, which came out in 1923, focused heavily on astronomical anomalies and mysterious objects in space. And then we have Low in 1931 and Wild Talents, and Low was L-O exclamation mark. I know I didn't really pronounce the exclamation mark, but you should know it's there. Explored human-centric anomalies like spontaneous human combustion, strange disappearances, and psychic phenomena. His key contributions to the community, for which it certainly, in my opinion, gains him cult status, he coined the word teleportation. It came from Charles Fort. Yeah, to explain how objects or people could disappear from one place and appear in another. He talks about in the Book of the Damned, falls of frogs, fishes, and inorganic materials. And he was one of the very first people to suggest that strange lights in the sky were alien spacecraft, and he introduced early concepts of alien abduction.
Yeah, to be fair, he was saying that Mars was going to attack us really early on.
Yeah, and famously writing, I think we're property. Examples of the odd phenomena in Fort's book include occult, supernatural, and paranormal phenomena, like I listed out for you. Reported events include spontaneous human combustion, ball lightning, which is another term explicitly used by Fort, poltergeist events, unaccountable noises and explosions, levitation, unidentified flying objects, unexplained disappearances, giant wheels of light in the oceans, and animals found outside of their normal ranges, if, for example, phantom cats. He offered many reports of out-of-place artifacts, or ooparts. We have done an episode on ooparts. Strange items found in unlikely locations. He was also perhaps the first person to explain strange human appearances and disappearances by the hypothesis of alien abduction, and was an early proponent of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, specifically suggesting that strange lights or objects sighted in the skies might be alien spacecraft. I know I said a great deal of those twice, but I just want to make sure that you're listening. So, Fort's work has inspired some people to consider themselves Forteans. I certainly never paid attention to that word.
I've seen it come up a lot, but it's with specific researchers, and it's usually better researchers I find will use the term Fortean.
So, I never noticed the word before or even heard it until we started doing the podcast, when I started seeing it pop up more and more, which is where I got the idea for this episode. The major one that I've seen it is the one you used it a couple episodes back, and Lon Strickler is a little bit involved with them, and it's the Fortean Research Society, I believe. Fort's work inspired these people to consider themselves Forteans. The first of these was Hecht, a screenwriter, who in a review of the Book of the Damned declared, "I am the first disciple of Charles Fort, henceforth I am a Fortean," which I guess it goes along with the research, because he was such a first of his kind of pioneer putting this stuff together and looking into it.
You're basically saying, I want to look at this stuff.
Exactly. And precisely what is...
I don't have answers, but man, do I like these stories.
Precisely what is encompassed by the term Fortean is a matter of great debate. The term is widely applied to people ranging from Fortean purists dedicated to Fort's methods and interests to those with open and active acceptance of the actuality of paranormal phenomena, a belief with which Fort may not have agreed. Most generally, Forteans have a wide interest in unexplained phenomena, concerned mostly with the natural world, and have a developed agnostic skepticism regarding the anomalies they note and discuss. The Fortean Society was initiated at the Savoy Plaza Hotel in New York City on January 26, 1931, by some of Fort's friends, including such significant writers as Hecht, Dreiser, and Alexander Woolcott, and organized by fellow American writer Thayer, half in earnest and half in the spirit of great good humor, like the works of Fort himself. The board of founders included Dreiser, Hecht, Tarkington, Powys, Aaron Sussman, former Puck editor Harry Leon Wilson, Woolcott, and J. David Stern, publisher of the Philadelphia Record. Active members of the Fortean Society included prominent science fiction writers such as Knight and Eric Frank Russell. Fort, however, rejected the society and refused the presidency, which went to his friend Dreiser. He was lured to its inaugural meeting by false telegrams. As a strict non-authoritarian, Fort refused to establish himself as an authority and further objected on the grounds that those who would be attracted by such a group would be spiritualists, zealots, and those opposed to a science that rejected them.
Oh, so he did not give a shit about, the seance side of it.
No, we'll get into it in a second. It would attract those who believed in their chosen phenomena, an attitude exactly contrary to Forteanism. The magazine Fortean Times, first published in November 1973, is a proponent of Fortean journalism, combining humor, skepticism, and serious research into subjects that scientists and other respectable authorities often disdain. Another such group is the International Fortean Organization, INFO, which was formed during the early 1960s, incorporated in 1965 by brothers and writers Ron and Paul Willis, who acquired much of the material of the Fortean Society, which had largely ceased by 1959 with the death of Thayer. Info publishes the Info Journal, Science and the Unknown, and organizes the Fort Fest, the world's first continuously running conference on anomalous phenomena dedicated to the spirit of Charles Fort, which I don't know why they'd say that. It sounds like he'd want nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah. Does it still run?
I believe it does, yes. I was looking at their website. It does seem to still be up and running.
Wow.
Other notable Fortean societies include the London Fortean Society, Edinburgh Fortean Society in Edinburgh, and the Isle of Wight. Fort's work also influenced science fiction and horror writers through the introduction of Fortean themes, which is often evident in the work of contemporary luminaries such as Stephen King.
Yeah.
Science fiction great Robert Heinlein was also a longtime member of the International Fortean Organization until his death. As you can tell, Fort was a polarizing figure. Mainstream scientists and critics absolutely hated his work. The New York Times called his writing a quagmire of pseudoscience, and H.G. Wells famously said Fort writes like a drunkard. Fort routinely openly mocked astronomers.
But like half the good authors are drunkards.
It's true. It's
like so Hemingway, true. Considered one of the best, was like not sober ever.
Yeah, I mean, drunkards shouldn't say anything about the quality of your work. If anything, it might make it better. I mean, I think the work should speak for itself, not what state of mind you were in when you were writing
belligerently, if you're writing it drunk.
I mean, I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and let me tell you, I can guarantee that was not written sober. Okay, so Fort routinely openly mocked astronomers and physicists, treating their laws as little more than arrogant guesses. However, the biggest controversy surrounding Fort is actually a misunderstanding of his intent. Many of his critics and many of his most fervent followers failed to realize that Fort was often joking. He later admitted he didn't literally believe in most of the wild theories he proposed, like a super sargasso sea hovering above Earth dropping objects on us. This is in the Book of the Damned. His extreme theories were satirical tools used to show that the explanations offered by mainstream science, like a whirlwind dropping fish perfectly on one town, were often just as absurd as his own made-up ideas. He was an anti-positivist, arguing that the universe is fundamentally irrational and that science is too arrogant to admit what it doesn't know. Fort himself noted, quote, "I believe nothing of my own that I have ever written," end quote.
Look, I just cataloged the shit.
Fort's impact is massive. Obviously, when you're like us and you're looking at stuff like this constantly, his name has become an adjective. Today, any unexplained or anomalous phenomenon, cryptozoology, UFOs, weird weather, is classified as Fortean. The Fortean Society was founded during his lifetime, though Fort himself found the idea of organizing a society hilarious and refused to run it, and the group carried on his work of collecting weird data.
Can you imagine, like, a group carrying on in your name, despite the fact you're like, this is dumb,
yeah.
Don't do this.
Don't do this.
It's the opposite of what I would want.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, we're still gonna do it. Yeah. I'm gonna be the head of it. Then name it after yourself. No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I want nothing to do with this.
And tarnish my good name? No, sir.
The Fortean Times is a popular magazine founded in the 70s that is still running today, dedicated to cataloging the world's weirdest news and anomalies. And Fort heavily influenced the golden age of science fiction. Writers routinely used his books as idea mines. Modern shows like The X-Files and radio programs like Coast to Coast AM.
Oh yeah, that would not surprise me if it was like The Outer Limits. And,
yeah.
Oh, what do you call it? The original one. Would steal their ideas from that. And yeah, Stephen King had no time but for cocaine during his, like, heavy writing years, so he needed places to find ideas.
Talk about another author that doesn't write sober. Coast to Coast AM, the direct spiritual descendants of Charles Fort's lonely hours in the library. I mean, the list goes on and on. We quite often use sources that are called the Fortean Times. Fortean Society. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
There's like 50 different Fortean websites that we've used, though.
Yeah, I'll notice his name on things. It came up in your last episode, too, actually, about the monkeys. Something had the name in it. So, yeah, that's the end of my episode, but I think he's a good guy. I think I like him.
He seems good enough, and especially like this, I don't know, it almost feels like a Greek tragedy or a Greek story. Like how it ends with like, oh no, you'll hate the people who continue on in your name, and they're just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, you're gonna
for
go down
100 years.
Guess what? You shouldn't have done that if you didn't want this. But I like that, just how skeptical of it, yet he wanted to catalog it for some reason and compile it all together, yet he did it all with a sense of humor. And I just feel like all of that goes together with Journey to the Fringe so well, because we have such a sense of humor about these things and we compile it all together.
I'm really worried that Phrygian research or Phrygian groups are going to study cryptid genitalia in the future, Chelsea.
I wonder if he did that. It didn't actually come up in what was
Let's call it Fortean right now to just snap that right in the butt.
Yeah.
It's Fortean.
But what do you think about him?
It's hard to say. With these people, he was a cataloger, so you don't actually hear many of his thoughts when we're talking about this portion of his life.
He did insert some of his stuff because he comments himself that he was often joking on the stuff that he did put in. So it was his
Was he joking, or just did he find it so bad and he couldn't burn it at that point that he wanted to distance himself from it?
That's true. We'll never know. And you know what? He is born in the 1800s, so you got to think that he was probably doing some pretty horrible things at the same time. We just didn't talk about.
Yeah.
It just.
But yeah, I mean, that group in the like late 1800s, early 1900s, it is easier to be a nice guy, or at least not a deemed asshole at that point. Giving you more slack, and you just had less opportunities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, somebody had to do it, and I'm glad somebody did do this begrudgingly, but...
You gotta think, it's always like, eventually somebody would have done it, probably, because the stories are all there. It's just, we were waiting for someone to kind of
It's not even rights themselves. The stories are literally there.
Yeah. Like, even Passport to Magonia puts together super old stories. It was just a matter of time. And boy, did Charles Fort not want it. But he did it.
I really wanted to make a joke about them wanting unlimited energy in the 1970s because OPEC came in and there was an oil shortage. So the Fortean magazine they created to get him spinning in his grave to generate power. But...
What?
That's too contrived and too much setup for that one very offhanded joke.
Well, I'm glad that you said it.
It needed to be included. Thought process needs to be known.
So yeah, that's my episode.
Well, yeah.
That's Charles Fort.
I'm glad.
This is
I've always wondered, and I felt like we did look it up at one point that it was a guy, but I've never since actually looked into him. So I'm glad to see that. I think I would be curious to actually like see his opinions on some things. Because also he wrote stories about it being like Mars is controlling us.
Yeah.
Was he joking then, or was it like
it's hard
I
to
don't
say.
know.
It seems to me like he said himself, what was it? It was like one of the last quotes. I believe nothing of my own that I've ever written. And it seems like he was just a guy that just hated science so much. Not that any of this is science.
He hated pretentiousness, it sounds like.
It does. I'm kind of interested in reading his
and
book.
It's written in 1800s English, early 1900s English, so it's gonna be a drag.
Shakespeare again?
Of 1600s.
Okay, so anyhow, I didn't really need to ask that out loud.
1616 is his death, so late 1500s, early 1600s.
I might, out of interest, read it and You know what? This has no place for me to say it right here, but I'm just going to say it. Do you know what I ordered that is currently on its way to me?
Is it a Bigfoot podcast?
No.
Oh.
It's a book, and it is The Encyclopedia Claims, Frauds, and Hoaxes of the Occult and Supernatural by James Randi.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
The wizard.
I know. It's been in my cart forever, and I finally ordered it, and it has absolutely no place for me to be mentioning it here. But here it is for everyone to know. Because it had to do with the book.
Oh, he was... Yeah,
Uri
he's
Geller.
in... Yeah, the Uri Geller episodes.
Yeah, he hates Uri Geller.
Maybe he gets his own episode. I can see him being a good guy.
Yeah, he wrote a book on how much he hates Uri Geller.
That's probably a good spot to leave off here. I have been Taylor, here with Chelsea. We are Journey to the Fringe. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Journey to the Fringe. If you have liked what you have listened to, please like, share, subscribe, or follow, depending on what venue you are listening to us through. Also, please, if possible, leave a 5-star review, as that really helps us in the algorithms. Should you wish to interact with us, please check us out on your social media of choice. I bet you we are there. And if you really want to communicate with us and give us ideas for new episodes, or tell us that we're wrong and terrible, either way, please send us an email at journeytothefringe@gmail.com. For now, I'll see you in the next episode.